Well, she asked me, is all this debt necessary? I have no clue. I have no clue. All I can tell you is I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wait a minute. HISD is going to go up 77%, and I will tell you their enrollment dropped 2.5%. So I think about all of those frauds. And I think if the population of people bearing the burden is declining and the rocks on our backs are getting bigger, there is a disconnect. Let's suppose I'm the superintendent of HISD and I have some really tired old schools, and I've got some refurbishment to do. Have I really done the right kind of study? Are there 18 students here, 400 students here? People don't like to be moved, but by the same token, do you really need to borrow $2 billion extra? And it's so hard to find out. We're trying to ask HISD for the construction the last 5 years. I want to know about square footage per student, and I want to know about cost per square foot. I want to know about construction costs. HISD, we've been trying to get this for 2 months, and then I cannot find it out.
Wow.
So I may have to do an open records request.
Probably.
I mean, I'm just saying, guys, we can't keep going to the public purse. That's what Washington's been doing. Writing checks. I have no idea this is, I said, it prompted me to say, my goodness, it's an awful lot of increase on a declining base.
But the school board doesn't know these numbers? I mean, when you say you
I
go...
don't know. He asked if the school board knows the numbers. I have no idea. But I may be putting a little different lens on it. If I'm a school board member, I have had somebody come tell me, we've got cracked sidewalks, the bathrooms don't work, and so I'm thinking public safety, gosh, the little kids, Freddie and Mary, will fall down a broken toilet, whatever it is. I should have, the bond lawyer should have told me what is the amount of rocks these donkeys and mules can put on their back, and they will tell you, yes, you can add another whatever it is. All I'm saying is, this is an inexorable rise. If you've gone from Houston ISD 2.5, you want to go to 4.3 billion. So for what? And the enrollment's going down. So the question is, if you look at the transformation in education, a lot of that's going to go online. They have dual enrollment. You have people who are getting masters online. They don't need to have bricks and mortar. They really do need to have good course content. You've got time. I strongly urge you, you're the ideal guy or gal, take the time, pick one of the taxing entities, go to the first report, find out who's in your wallet, and then start watching them. You can make things happen. Now, by the way, we're testifying before the Senate Finance Committee Wednesday about certificates of obligation. That's a very sneaky thing to do. They have been authorized since 1971. So if you are a city, a county, or a hospital district, without going to the voters, you can obligate. Well, these three entities, cities, counties, and hospital districts, over the last 7 years, 16.6% of all of their debt has been in this unvoted kind of obligation. And it's 7.1% of all local new debt. So Tommy Williams asked me if we would have some people coming next week to put together a package for him. What you've seen in some cases is that folks turn down a bond election, then they do an end run around through a certificate of obligation to the city and the county. That's just wrong.
Yep.
That's just flat crookery. By hookery or by crookery. So be vigilant. Write letters, and I will tell you, you can get a TV crew someplace, a radio guy someplace who will wake them up, and they won't do it. You got to hold them accountable. Sir.
I have a rather complex question, which may be too complex for tonight, but let me see if I can phrase it in a way that'd be understandable. I live in Montgomery County. I live in East Montgomery County. As you well know, Montgomery County's primary tax base is along the I-45 corridor. I live on 59. The tax assessor collector has decided to start assessing taxes for people who own rentable office space in New Caney in a different way than he does the tax assessing for I-45 corridor and the Woodlands.
Really?
In the Woodlands, they're assessed based on the value of the property. In one location, one strip center in New Caney, he has decided to assess it based on the income from the property.
Oh.
and has told us that the reason for doing that is so that we can reach parity with the tax collection in the Woodlands. Now, if he did this in the Woodlands, there'd be absolute, total, complete revolt overnight. The man's life would be in danger. But he picked a very small strip center in New Caney to do this.
This is the issue about commercial property, and it is a really hot issue.
It is.
It is very, it's very diverse, and we've tried to get together with a bunch of taxing consultants and say, can we find something that's rational? We've been trying for 2 years. We cannot seem to solve this problem. Now, obviously, the Property Tax Assistance Division in my office deals with this, but you've got people who are, oh my gosh, so angry about this on both sides of the corridor, and we cannot get a piece of legislation agreed to get through anywhere. So you have this very diversity. If you would give David White your phone number, right there,
Sure.
David's over there, we'll call you back.
Fantastic, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sir.
I do not envy the job you have.
It's fun.
I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but still, you're the person, at least with us tonight, who has to bring this great news to us by this balance sheet.
Be
There
pretty.
is no way on God's earth that the voters should be asked to approve such horrendous increases in 1 year.
Right.
No. They just...
I know, but it's on the ballot.
HIS...
It's on the ballot.
With an 80% increase in the budget in 1 year, with a community college, 130% increase in 1 year, the answer has to be from the State House, no.
Well,
Not doing
that's
it.
why this report is coming out next week, and one of my recommendations is that you must put on the face of the ballot, which has never been on there, all you'll see is Proposition 12.
That's right.
To raise money
Save
for
children.
school infrastructure
Yep.
and blah, blah, blah. It's unintelligible to vote. You have no idea. And 18 million bucks. So, or 2.5 billion. If you already knew how hot the water was that you're sitting in, you would say, just a minute. And I do believe it will slow down voting, but you've got to marry that up to the stick of obligation. You can't send them over to the COs because then they'll start doing it. There has to be a better way, and I would welcome any conversation back, but I will tell you, this next legislature is going to pay attention. They will be very receptive. They're going to have all this data. I met with a new representative-elect this morning, Tommy Williams. I've been by. He loves this stuff. You're going to have a very big welcome mat when you talk to people about it. I promise. It's a very different cycle. The 16 trillion has just scared people so badly we cannot mimic Washington. Can't do it.
Yeah, to me, the message here is to tell the people of Texas, you have a 10% limit on any budget increases. Figure out how you're going to live with it.
And that's why they created those special purpose taxing districts. Why I pretended I was a police chief. So I didn't increase my budget. I just created a new purse.
People
What other
who do
recommendations?
not pay taxes.
Sorry, what?
One other recommendation in the report next week is the voter threshold.
Yes, we're proposing a voter threshold, a higher voter threshold. People don't vote. Let me tell you something. If you
No.
want to go vote from a dry county to a wet county, it's 25%.
Yes, if
Well,
you're lucky.
What's so wrong with having to have at least 10 or 15%? So we're proposing that there be legislatively a voter required participation before you can do this stuff.
Wow,
Oh,
nice.
But again, you got to be out there and you got to be working.
Yep. And do you have support for that?
I think so, because what I'm going to do is it's on the web, we'll have this appendix of all of the various already voted in voting participation requirements, so it won't look like such a strange animal. Yes,
What are the
ma'am.
requirements going to be?
What?
What are the requirements going to be?
I don't know. That's the legislature will figure that out. They may not go to 25, but they might go to 15. Listen, most of this stuff gets voted in with 8%, 7%, 9%.
Yes.
Come on, guys. By the way, I won my primary in 1992 by 2 votes, so I do understand how important the vote is. But again, you're paying the freight. You need to participate. Yes, ma'am.
Have you run into a lot of resistance trying to put this information together and putting it out?
No, I'm the
People
only
who
one
don't-
doing this stuff.
But I mean, anyone else, because they don't want the information to get out to the public.
No, well, resistance, well, I mean, I have the ability as the evil tax collector to go find this stuff. And so we do this database search, but I will tell you, it was not simple. And so we're proposing some ways to make it simpler, automatic data dumps. So this is on the web, you can go find it any place. It shouldn't be hard when you're paying. I mean, by the way, you know what your mortgage is. You know what your rental apartment contract is. You know how much you're paying for your car. You just know this stuff. And if you already got a $400 a month car payment and a $1,000 a month mortgage payment, it's $1,400 before you take on another $600. I can assure you, sit down and you pencil and paper it. You don't get to do that with this stuff.
I have a question. How do we find out the same type of information for the city of Houston? Like, how do we find out what the rain tax has added and how much of that's really being spent on drainage?
Drain tax. When you go to taxing entity,
It's actually on the site?
it should be on this first one.
Well, and one thing where we advocated they need to put online how they're spending that money, because it's really hard.
Well, the first thing they spent it for was for a green belt. It was not even for drainage.
Yes, she's asking about the change of purpose, and that's really, really kind of creepy and ambiguous. There's an issue in Travis County about Waller Creek drainage and reclamation, and they're now writing these proposals broadly enough that you can fit everything under it.
And the money in Houston went into the general
Yes,
fund.
and that has happened sometimes, and that proposal in our tax reports is that you've got to keep using it for the same purpose. You can't bait and switch. Okay, I'm going to head back to Austin to go terrorize the people there tomorrow. But I just want you all to please follow this stuff up, be empowered, and be invigorated. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. You get in your card, good number? Okay.